Well, hello everyone. Here you see that I see the dream of a garage. You see coloring right here. As you see right here is that I went ahead and drew a picture, see, of a car, and then of course, whenever I was working on this, I was thinking about that. Talking about it's like the type of vehicles. It's like talking about with like electric cars. It's like for electric cars it is, and I can remember whenever I was in school is talking about it's like type of car that more likely that more likely that maybe they ought to have. It's like something that uses that generates just by power. It is that that way you won't have to deal with any type of flammable gasoline or any type of say flammable fluids. It is, but on the other hand too, that knowing about with most car designs that they could probably thinking about that with the way they are designed, it is knowing about almost anything really. I like knowing about the safest part, of course, about doing automobile maintenance, of course, would probably be is like knowing about is like wearing the proper gloves, of course, working with the right hand tools and stuff like that, just to be able to do the job it is. And a lot of us were probably thinking about knowing about say is with the pollution and stuff like that is knowing about type of vehicle, more fuel efficient vehicle, and with most of us we probably think about that if you were to be a car or automobile owner, it is own a truck or anything like that, is to know about that about with the automobiles it is that if we were thinking about getting a car, it is knowing about maybe aiming for the one with the best fuel mileage. The gas mileage it is knowing about how many miles it gets per gallon it is. And I know with knowing about with me that knowing about it's like for good gas mileage it is, and knowing about a lot of people will probably think about it's like if you're going to go out car shopping it is, aim for the one that has a really good stereo. It's like they have a stereo in there to where that it's like, or maybe good really good power steering it is, or maybe power windows and power locks it is. But on your hand too, that knowing about is like that a type of car, of course, it's a what you call is like I'd say that maybe reliable, but most a lot of cars it's like depending on their condition it is that more likely that most quite a few of them are going to be reliable it is. And a lot of people probably thinking about that if you have a real big selection of cars to choose from, especially if you're going to go out car shopping it is, and just knowing about that you have a real big selection right here of different cars it is. And I can remember I went out car shopping before, and knowing about it, it's like to pick the car that was around the price that I was wanting to spend, especially for like a used car it is. But besides used cars it is, and knowing about if we were thinking about getting a used car and knowing about the condition, the driving condition it was in, of course. But on your hand too, that knowing about with the dream of a garage it is a garage of a dream that is like so far as a garage to be able to put. And I went ahead and drew right here is like a kind of example right here of more likely this is how what you call it they would build the garages it was whenever they would build the two-car garages that you would have it to where that you got like here's a line where you would have like maybe a few gardening tools, and then maybe you would a place where you would want to put a ladder or something like that. And then you have right here it's like a garage at if you have like a work bench at about right here it is a workbench, and that knowing about it's like a place where you can maybe put a few of your power your tools and stuff like that. But on your hand too, to knowing about you have right here is a garage, and the people probably thinking about that with the type of garage right here is knowing about that of course I didn't draw all the details of course about that where's the door to how to get into the garage, or do you have to walk in directly from the outside from the garage door it is. But if most of us probably thinking about that having a garage it's like you have a garage door that would open kind of like this right here, to where that it would have the sliding doors that would slide say up and down it is. So you had to have the sliding doors, and knowing about that with the operating by the sliding doors it is. And people, well, I could especially me, I can think about it's like that more likely I would maybe like to have a garage to where that I can keep. It's like, keep my vehicles locked up, and then on the other hand too, that knowing about is like, knowing about how much room I would more likely have if I had that capability to where I had a garage. And I know quite a few places, if you were to rent them, of course, and more likely that you may wind up be paying just to have a garage where you can keep your vehicle safe. And then of course, if you wanted to say keep a few of your other belongings in. And I can remember that a few houses I remember going to, that they would have it on the side of the garage, that they would have it to where they do be like what you call like a key alarm system, like a key code that you would be able to the locked door. It is have a little alarm system right there where you can it would have the sliding doors. It is whenever you pull up into the driveway, it is, and then the doors would open up, like that. And I include like a locker combination. People probably thinking about that. Yeah, that some of those locks that they're knowing about is that that if it don't unlock because you can't figure out what the combination is, whatever it is, that more likely you're probably thinking about that. You better get this door open. But other than that, like knowing about that. Other than it's a transmitter, it is like the key fob is like transmitter. Is that a lot of times what people probably have in their automobiles, that the garage door would open whenever they first pull up. It was, and it would open up automatically. Other than that, you would have to roll down manually. It is as be able to pull it down and then lock the door. It is, but on the other hand too, they're talking about with fuel efficient vehicles, it is we could probably think about. I can remember doing this in school about the study about them. Is that I'm sure that it will probably take more than just knowing about whatever ideas is knowing about. Is that the types of engineering it takes just to build the model. It is, and then of course it's like what it does. It's like talking about it's like besides the study about the type of vehicle. The type of vehicle that more likely that will get say about average, you say that the type of engine, of course, it's like probably think about it's like with the engine. It is with the engine, and of course with the fuel type, it's like the fuel type that it more likely would take. And then knowing about it's like the maintenance, it's like for as I say a mechanic. That more likely you probably think about is like knowing about it, if you were to actually get some experience as knowing about how to working with automobiles. But so far as talking about electric cars, it is, and I can remember that there was a school project. It was a school paper actually that we were talking. Have you write it to where that you would say that something like you would say whereas. It's like the question would be is like for whereas. That whereas and then because stuff like that. And I can remember one of those was about that it's gas, it's flammable, and of course can catch on fire, etc. And just knowing about that it's like so far as for electric cars. And more likely it's like so far as electric cars. It is. It's like knowing about. It's like people probably thinking about the type of electric cars that more likely that they make in what you call it in Germany or something like that, some country. But other than that, it's like knowing about with the electric cars. It is that type of car, and of course they more likely have announced the type of car that say the kind that floats and say that hovers and say floats in the air. It is, but more likely people think about that you're talking about maybe the 2018 or 2020 design right here. And in a lot of ways that I keep thinking about that with the car automobiles, it is with manufacturers, it is that more likely a type of automobile that not only gets good gas mileage, but in a kind that would hold more passengers too. And in a lot of ways it just seems like that besides the ones that can go faster, and then of course the type of cars that probably thinking about where that be able to hold more gas, and where that has like what you call like all this staying function built-in systems is talking about is that you have such as a stereo, or if it's anything related to a TV, DVR, any type of recorder, device. And that reminds me a little bit of that show. It's like so far it's like something on Spike. It's like Pimp My Ride, and of course a few of those other episodes to where that they show you about exactly about how they're able to put monitors inside, how to put a hot tub, a 5-minute bathtub. They put a bathtub in the car, and along with the blender, a big screen TV, whatever it is. But on your hand too, to knowing about with me that I could probably think about is the type of dream car I'm kind of looking at is a kind to where that it's going to be reliable, and then on your hand too, that knowing about that it's going to have like what you call like say good security, and not knowing about that at least people probably thinking about at least maybe have a warranty on it, or anything related to it, that any type of coverage it is. But on your hand too, to knowing about that thing about it is like, yeah, you go out and buy a car, and one thing that more likely you probably say about it is like, hey, for my dream, I would probably say my dream about buying a car is if they were to take off the taxes, of course, and then of course that the insurance would come with the title it is. But on the other hand too, that knowing about with most car buyers, it is knowing about that so far as the garage of a dream, it is talking about that if you were to go out and say have a garage, it is where you can put one or two vehicles in there, and then knowing about the types of power tools that more likely like to have it is. And with the power tools, it's like if you talk about a number of them, at least a set of about maybe 115 or maybe 412 say different tools. It is like wrenches, and of course with a tester, and then of course with jumper cables, there's a few sets of jumper cables, spare tires. It is, I'm sure people probably think about it with inside the garage that they would maybe like to have, like what you call it, like besides a lawnmower, that they would a lawnmower, and of course maybe some spare tires. It is, but more likely people probably think about even a two-car garage. A two-car garage, of course, can only hold so much. If you were thinking about that, if you look at the amount of space that you have inside of the garage, it is. If you're talking about maybe if you decide to use one side for like what you call is like to keep a lot of your gardening tools and stuff like that in, and then at one side of the garage if you want to keep a few of your mechanical tools and stuff like that in. And a lot of times you're probably thinking about that I put a few tools right here, and then okay, where am I going to put this? So in a lot of ways, I'm sure that it's happened to quite a few people that they build up a collection, that they were to go out and if they were to buy a house, go somewhere, move somewhere where there is a garage, and more likely if it's besides a lawnmower, and then of course any type of say weed eater or anything related to gardening accessories, it is that more likely power tools like saws and hammers and stuff, that more likely say you put a workshop somewhere. But with the garage though, that knowing about that, we probably think about a dream. It's supposed to mean making it happen, not really thinking about how much room you have, because we could think about it's like really how are you going to expand a certain amount of space. It's like if we're talking about, you do like the measurement right here. If you are talking about a garage, it's only measured by say do the math right, by 12, if it's 12 feet, 12 by 14 or so feet it is. It's like you say knowing about that pretty good sized garage. But if you only have like a certain size garage, it's like the dream would be is like to not matter about how much space is knowing about is that how whenever you do get it, it's like knowing about that you'll go ahead and be like what you call is like a cat in the hat or whatever, to where you want to stuff everything all in the bag, and like, oh, I'll go ahead and fold it sideways and go ahead and stuff it on in there or whatever. But on your hand too, to knowing about is like that with me though, that and if I were to get something like find out that if I were to one of these days, if I get a house with a garage, it is, and just knowing about that if I have a real small collection of some things, and knowing about that, I may want to use one side is like a little workshop, and then of course use one side to park my car, and come up to that situation to where that you need at least 3 or 4 feet of space in order to be able to get into your car too. So on the other hand too, that knowing about it so far as the whole dream matter, I guess more likely would be is that knowing about that if it matches with everything that you always wanted, it was everything that you always wanted. Of course, it's like a good reliable car. It is, and by the time you get it and then try to get it parked in the garage, it's like knowing about that. Find out that you get one of those big trucks, and then the next thing you know it won't that the truck is too big. Actually, the garage door won't even close or anything like that. And knowing about that, so far as getting it in the garage and of course parking it, of course. But on your hand too, so far as talking about as garage of a dream is talking about is like the thing between the things that you want and the things that you needed, and maybe the things that you would think that you like to have, and whatever you can work out it is. As knowing about that, I guess you always have an idea for what you can use, but other than that, it's talking about it's like for a garage of a dream coloring.